There's some new faces. Cindy and I will talk about what we do later in the breakout session in regards to the magazine, the website, your flyers for your events, your t-shirts, things like that, just about anything that's printed and stuff that's electronic on the website as well too. Just a little bit about myself, for the new people who don't know it. I used to work at a newspaper up in South Bend back in the mid-'80s called the Penny Saver. Is it still there? Yeah. I was working in the art department for the Penny Saver, and ABATE had contracted them to actually do their newsletter whenever they could afford it, which could have been every 2 months, every 3 months, whatever it was. And the artist that was doing it at the time was leaving, and they asked me if I wanted to take on the job. I said, sure, I'm always up for a challenge. So I remember this one winter day, it was in December, I was supposed to meet with some guy named Balls. And he's going to bring some stuff for me to do the magazine. And he pulls up on his bike in about 3 inches of snow in South Bend. First time I ever see anybody riding a bike in the winter. And nicest guy in the world. We sat down for about an hour. He pulls out this envelope full with chicken scratches, napkins, bar napkins, notebook paper, everything with handwritten notes, typewritten stuff, artwork for advertisers, and he says, you need to put together a newsletter, here's the stuff. Well, I imagine it was a shock for me, but I did get something put together, put it out. The very first issue I ever did was the January 1986 issue of the ABATE newsletter at the time, which really didn't have a name. We called it the ABATE News, but that was January 86, and here I am today. They decided that they wanted to bring everything in, hire me, buy some computer equipment. I taught myself how to use a computer, how to use the software, had no formal training. I went to college and used a pen and paper and did everything the traditional way. I used to be able to draw years ago. I would do everything by hand. Never used a computer in college, but I taught myself how to do it. We put out the first issue in my form in the magazine, the newspaper magazine format, August of 1987. That was the first one that I did as a office member of ABATE. I was the young kid. I was like 22 years old when I first came to work. I was the youngest one there, and I was the kid. Got a lot of abuse for that. Loved every minute of it, and I love what I do today, and I just can't say enough about it. Unfortunately, because I was the guy who knew how to use a computer, I became the technical support person for the office as well. So I ended up having to fix all the computers, fix anything that required electronics. That was me, because nobody else wanted to mess with it. So I learned how to do that. So now my job has slowly evolved over the years from not just the editor of the newsletter / magazine, but also the computer tech support person, the software person, the phone system person, all of the office equipment, the copiers, all of that stuff is kind of my responsibility. I'm kind of a techno geek. I kind of like electronic stuff, so it's not a big deal. I enjoy that. But that gives you an understanding of some of the things that I'm also doing outside of just the Hoosier Motorcyclist. In 1991, we moved the offices from up in Granger, where I was a proud Region 1 member, and it became a Region 11 member, moving down to Bargersville. Hey. I'm still with ABATE. I was open and free to be able to make that move. I didn't have anything tying me to the area, so I was fortunate to be able to do that. And as things evolved, the internet became popular, and email and all of that. So once again, Mark's the electronics guy, so I became the webmaster, and I started doing the website. So I'm now maintaining the website and the store and all of that on the internet too. So that kind of gives you a little understanding of what I do. Later on, as I said in the session, I'll give you a little bit of an overview on getting your articles, letters, photos, events, all of that stuff in the magazine, and getting stuff on the website, and little tips on your own website as well. And of course, over time, we ended up hiring Cindy to kind of take off some of the workload of doing t-shirts and flyers. And Cindy ended up becoming the young pup in the office as well, too. So she took my job, so to speak, as the youngin in the office. And we hired her at about, I think you were 18 years old? She was 18. She was just barely able to go to the boogie when we hired her. She was in high school at the time, in a vocational class at a vocational school in Greenwood. And I happened to know the guy who runs the graphic arts department there, and asked him if he had anybody that he would recommend, and he sent Cindy our way. And I can't say enough praise about her. She does an outstanding job. She busts her butt. She makes every deadline. She works late nights, early morning, whatever it takes to get the job done. She's just a very hard-working, dedicated individual. I'm going to pass the mic over to her and let her tell what she's going to talk about a little bit today, too.